Hey guys, quick little note and then we'll get on to the podcast. So the guys and I talked and we've done 4 episodes of Bro Talk so far, once a week. And what we're going to be doing from now on is 1 episode per month, and it's going to be on the first Sunday of each month. So I'm going to be releasing this episode about mid-September, so the next episode will be on the first Sunday of October next month. We kind of took a break here, about 3 weeks off, let some other things get ahead of us and put this on the back burner. And that was our bad. We kind of left you guys hanging, so sorry about that, but we're getting back with it, and we're just going to be doing much longer episodes now, about 2 hours each, once a month. So I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. Thank you for coming back and watching, and this episode is really good. We get into a lot of stuff, and we just keep it super casual, so we're trying to Joe Rogan this thing. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to call Jesus the son of David and not think about him being like David. I mean, David was a man's man.
You started recording? Is it time for me to get naked now?
Start recording. Here we go. What are we talking about?
Well,
I have to do all my inappropriate things at the start just to get them out of my system.
yeah.
I got a brown-eyed lover.
Well,
Venus! Okay.
goodness.
Woo! Wait.
I mean, it's already going to be going. Like, I'm going to show all this. So,
Good.
Going right now?
Yeah. We're not going to
Yeah.
do we're not going to do like an official intro.
It's a cold open.
It is. We're not going to
Yeah,
do
man,
an official intro anymore. We're just going to jump right into it.
I just screamed loudly about male anatomy.
All right. Well, I guess I could say
This is going to be rough.
So,
Wait. We just started talking. Hold on, sorry.
shut up. No, I'm trying to say something.
Trying to intro.
I mean, we're not really doing an intro, but anyway, if you're watching, thank you for watching.
This is the intro.
Been like 3 weeks since we've done one of these. So, anyway, now you can go, Noah.
Okay.
Intro.
Well, I guess then this is perfect. I was gonna ask. We are going over that tweet, right?
Yes. Do you want to read that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Somebody sent us a tweet. They didn't tweet it. They saw it and they sent a screenshot. And I guess out of privacy for this guy, I guess we can post the picture. I'll send it to you, but just blur out the name.
Yeah.
But it says, "Dear white evangelicals, Christian men leaders in your camp who are constantly banging the drum of biblical masculinity, whose image of manliness looks more like John Wayne than Mr. Rogers, are largely motivated by insecurity." It's a run-on sentence, but I'm pretty sure it is. Basically, what they're saying is this guy's apparently his experience with white, I don't know why it matters if they're white evangelicals,
White people are evil, Noah, don't you remember?
Christian leaders, and male leaders specifically, are banging this drum of biblical masculinity, and they're saying that looks like John Wayne. Like, that's a bad thing. First of all, we all like John Wayne.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand the motive behind this, because what it sounds like is he's saying, it honestly sounds like this guy's hurt, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he got hurt by someone saying toughen up and put some dirt on it and move on. Or either that, or he just had a really hard dad, which, obviously that can be damaging too. But he made this comparison between John Wayne and Mr. Rogers, saying that biblical masculinity, where manliness looks more like John Wayne rather than Mr. Rogers, that idea of biblical masculinity is largely motivated by insecurity. So I think we should just leave this up while we're talking about this, because it's kind of the tweet is kind of hard to read out loud and understand, because the way it's written is kind of weird. But
Yeah. I'll the people that are watching on YouTube will see it, but if they're watching on Apple Podcasts, they won't be able to see it. But I'll put it up on the screen. My initial thoughts when you sent me that was, one, Jesus, I talked to Chris Dunham about this. You know who Chris is, Noah.
Yeah.
He basically, I asked him this question. I was like, do we have the masculinity of Jesus wrong? Like, what's your definition of Jesus' masculinity? And people who I think are getting that wrong, or wherever this guy is coming from, he's just misunderstanding the masculinity of Jesus. And Chris's answer was that Jesus is the quintessential Renaissance man. In essence, he can do everything, and he can be anything that you need him to be. He can be that John Wayne who fashions a whip and goes in the temple and turns tables and drives out the money changers. He can be rough and tough when you need him to be. And then he can very, very easily, and in his natural state, be Mr. Rogers and be laughing and playing with children, and yes, at times be that petting lamb Jesus that we paint him too often to be. But he can be both of those things at the same time. And it's not that we're saying Jesus is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and if you think otherwise, then you're some kind of pansy boy or something. It's just that Jesus is not just a petting lambs kind of guy all the time. People so often about the real masculine part of Jesus, and that's what really triggers me about it. So it's not that it's just one or the other. He is the perfect everything. He's the perfect all of it.
And I think Noah hit it pretty good with saying that the person who tweeted that honestly was probably just hurt. Like, that's the main thing. Like, probably they saw somebody who their only side of their Christian, walk, and their only side of their masculinity was that tough love, just, suck it up and deal with your problems. And so they put that image of a human and was like, well, if this is what you think your Jesus is like, then why would you want to serve your Jesus? But like, it's really hard to take like father figures and to not put that on like, take that image and like transpose it onto what you think Jesus looked like, because you see the only male authorities in your life that you can see and like actually experience talking about God, and then you're like, well, that must be like what Jesus was like, and I don't want a part of it. So that's where that hurt comes in. And it's like, if that's what they saw, if all they saw was, we talked about the Man of Steel and Velvet, if all they saw was the Man of Steel, then they're left missing a huge part of what Jesus is, and they're going to overcompensate.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to call Jesus the son of David and not think about him being like David. I mean, David was a man's man. That dude was war, fatigued and just.
But let's think about also, he was an artist.
He was.
And he was super passionate. Danced till his clothes fell off. Was an amazing harp player. I'll just say this. Any guy nowadays who plays the harp, my immediate thought's going to be, that guy's a pansy. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, that's not true, because if a guy actually knows how to play the harp, if someone's watching this and you're a dude and you know how to play the harp, that might just be the coolest thing ever. But in my head, you think of like the naked cherub baby with the harp.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. So.
I need to take my shirt off for it.
No.
My wings.
So, Noah, another thought I had about that tweet was that this guy said, we're motivated by insecurity because we paint Jesus to be some John Wayne character. Mm-hmm. And so if you put yourself in his shoes, what would make him think that we're insecure and have to mask that insecurity with a John Wayne image of Jesus? And Austin, I think what you were saying hits that on the head, because he probably thinks that we have a false image of Jesus by seeing somebody in our life, a male figure, do it wrong. And so we try to make Jesus into something that he thinks he's not. But I'm just trying to figure out like where the fundamental difference is in terms of what we are insecure about. Because I'm not insecure about my masculinity, so that's why it's okay for me to know that Jesus was like that.
Right.
He is insecure about his masculinity.
I don't know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know what guy in this guy's life. And here's the other thing. I have nothing but compassion for this dude, because somewhere along the line, like we've been talking about, there is an example of biblical masculinity in his life, right? But as he put it, in quotations, where he was nothing like Mr. Rogers. And like we've already talked about, a biblical masculinity is being a man of steel and velvet. It's being a man that is willing to protect his family at all costs, but also love his children and his wife like Christ loved the church. And so like a selfless dedication, sacrificial love. One that's, me before my family. I'm sorry, my family before me. Right. So anyway, somewhere along the line, this guy got the idea. Somewhere he found there was a group of guys or one guy that, only showed the John Wayne aspect. And so I guess in a way he might not be wrong about this tweet. I would say there isn't anyone in my life specifically, like in my immediate life that I can think of that is just one that calls himself Christian. That's just one side and not the other. Most of the guys in my life are pretty well-rounded.
Yeah.
I'm grateful about that, but
let me rephrase what I said before, because I said that in a really stupid way. That was probably not very clear what I was trying to say. In the same way that he thinks we're insecure by painting Jesus as this John Wayne character. All right, hold on. I got to think about how to phrase this. I'm losing my train of thought here.
sorry.
What? Dang it. You know how you have that you think about how to say it perfectly and then like you just forget it immediately.
Your mind conductor jumps off the train.
Huh?
Your mind conductor jumps off the train of thought.
Yeah, pretty much. What was I going to say? I don't know. I'll
That's
come
good
back to it if I remember.
Are you saying this guy sounds like he's coming out of insecurity to call us insecure? And I say us, meaning I consider myself a man who goes after biblical masculinity. So in my eyes, it's almost like he's saying, if you're like John Wayne, the statement seemed imbalanced.
Oh, no, yeah. Okay, here's what I was going to say. I was going to reverse it on him and say he's coming from a place of insecurity and making Jesus out to be some pansy because somebody showed him the wrong way of of biblical masculinity. And
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is just that. What were you saying?
I wouldn't say pansy because Mr. Rogers was a noble dude. But like just that, like we've been saying, just that one side.
Yeah. So if you think about that for him, that's what he's saying about us, but it's not.
I think
Right.
he just showed the wrong example. I think there were men in his life who abused their masculinity.
Right.
So they were over. I mean, I don't know, not over masculine because masculinity is a good thing. I'd say they were toxic within their masculinity, where they were that type that was just the steel and there was no velvet. They didn't have a soft side. They were just the mean part of John Wayne, where it doesn't show him taking care of women and walking ladies home and protecting them from fights and all that stuff. It was just I'm a brute and I'm going to beat you up because I'm stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also nowadays in society, people what happened to Austin?
He turned into a wall.
But nowadays in society, people would say that walking on the side of the road and opening a door for a woman and all that is toxic masculinity, and that is taking them to their car after an event or something like that. That's like there are people nowadays calling that toxic masculinity. And considering that, and that's a very John Wayne type of thing to do. So when he's saying John Wayne, like, what is he talking about here? Is he talking about the pistol whipping, horse riding, Indian shooting John Wayne? Because in that case, I can understand what he's saying. But if he's talking about the John Wayne that protects and cares about innocent people and those who need protecting, which, especially for his time, we're women. I would say women have even now compared to even then, I mean, women have more freedoms in terms of just what they can do. But, and I mean, that wasn't even too long ago, but that's kind of besides the point.
Yeah, but it was about him being a gentleman. Like you're saying, just gentlemanly qualities nowadays are
Right.
toxic masculinity.
Right.
Yeah. It's stupid.
So I guess I'm out of the loop on that one because whenever I think of, or I don't even know what I associate with toxic masculinity, but I did not think that it was that.
Well,
Like
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
That is that what they consider toxic?
yeah, like feminazis do, bro.
Yeah, well, for us, I mean, we live in a culture where that's very much accepted and expected of you.
And the women like it.
Thankfully, yeah, thankfully we live.
And I also say this: all of the women that respect themselves, first of all, for a guy, a woman who like is secure in herself, that's a super attractive thing. And a woman who is secure in her womanhood, right, and knows that, okay, yes, we're both created in the image of God, but there are things a woman's good at that a guy is not, and there's things that a guy is good at that a woman is not, and we have been put here. If we were the same exact thing, why would there need to be a difference? You know what I'm saying? Why would God have to differentiate between two different parts of himself if we were supposed to be the exact same? So they're different for a reason. And obviously, you know, I do believe in intelligent design. I do believe in creation. If you are an evolutionist, then really the only reason that a woman exists is for offspring production, or a male. So it's kind of like, why haven't we evolved to just be asexual? Why do we need, I don't know. This is getting
It turned out that way, and I was like, it's not good man be alone and all. So
And
Right.
here's a question: if there really isn't any difference between man and woman, then why do you have to take hormones to change your gender? Or why do you have to have surgery or anything like that?
Right. Well, yeah, there definitely is a difference. So anyway, what I'm saying is a woman who's secure in herself as a woman will allow a man to respect her because you know, in the end, that's why we do what we do. It's a laying down, almost like, you know, it says in the Bible that the wives are to submit to their husbands, but that is because the husband is supposed to sacrificially lay down himself, his flesh, and his life for his wife and family, like Christ loved the church, right? Christ died for the church. So the acts of opening the door, of paying for the first meal, of picking the girl up and driving her, walking her to the car, walking down the street and staying on the side where the road is, right? All of that is a physical act and tradition that represents the man laying down his life and laying down his livelihood for the thing that he considers to be the most beautiful thing in creation, which is true, which is a woman. And so
I agree with God on that one.
right, yeah.
I heard a great commentary on this.
Dude, our phones are going off like
That scared me. I don't know why. That was on the other side of the room. But anyway,
So with I was going to add on to kind of what Noah was saying there. With my last girlfriend, unfortunately, we broke up because we wanted separate, different things in life. But whenever the first date that we went on, we went to a coffee shop, and I opened the door for her. I paid for her coffee, and then we went walking downtown. And every time that there was somebody sketchy would walk past us, I would go from the side of the road to in between her and the person. And she always looked at me like I was crazy. Like, she was like, why do you keep moving from side to side? And then I would like move back over to between her and the road. And she would again look at me like I was insane. And one of my friends actually set me up with this girl. So later I was talking to my friend, and she was like, yeah, Alex, like, the girl, she was like, she couldn't stop talking about how, like, she didn't know what you were doing at the beginning of the date. Like, she was wondering why you kept, like, switching sides on her and stuff, and it felt like a drag race. And then she eventually realized what I was doing, and I was getting between her and the road, and she just, like, could not stop talking about how awesome that was, because there are, like, no guys that do it anymore.
right.
So if you want to stand out for a girl, pay for her food, open the door, and walk between her and the road, and and don't touch her inappropriately. That's also a very big important.
That's a big one.
You'll stand out.
So part of the reason that we do this, and again, hopefully this is for younger guys listening to this that want to learn, part of the reason that for me at least, the main reason that we treat women like that, we treat them like princesses and like the jewels that they are, is less so for them. It's more so for me to remember how valuable they are. And so that I can be always thinking about the incredible gift that they are to humanity
Yeah.
and to us, and how precious they are in God's eyes as well. So
Right.
to me, it's less so for them, and it's more so to remind myself just how valuable they are. But real quick, Noah, going back to that verse you were talking about, wives submitting to husbands and husbands sacrificing and dying for their wives. A great commentary I heard on that, this guy said, so many people just read those first couple of verses, wives submit to your husbands, and they get all frustrated about that. And he's like, but you forget the next part. It says, husbands, sacrifice for your wives, or however it words that, like Christ did for the church.
Love your wife like Christ loves the church.
Well, Christ died for the church.
Right.
And so instead of getting upset about the fact that you have to submit to your husbands, why don't you focus on being a wife worth dying for? Because we have to do the dying part, right? Like we have to literally lay down our life for you. But it's like that just gets completely thrown out the window because so many people have such a hard time following the word. And it's all of it, when all of it comes together and everybody does their part in a relationship like that, it's perfect and it's wholesome, and nobody feels taken advantage of or prideful or like they need more. When the wife is submitting in a Christ-like way and when the husband is dying in a Christ-like way, it's the perfect combination. And there's no more or less give or take that you need. It's because exactly how God set it up.
When you have a give relationship, everything works out. Like whenever it's give and take, then that's where issues come in. You have to have a relationship where both of you are longing to do nothing but give to the other. And then if you don't receive anything, you're not disappointed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also, just for anyone watching that really isn't understanding the terminology we're using, when we're saying die, obviously we're not doing like physical death, but the way we kind of are, that is, obviously if it does come to physical death, as a man, it is your duty to make sure that you do all you can to make sure that if anyone's going to die, it's you. But also it's also used in the spiritual sense, and like a metaphorical sense. So for example, there's the flesh side and then there's the spirit side. And your flesh is what we believe is, why did you light a candle?
He has to set that mood, bro.
I'm trying to set the mood, brother.
Okay. Well, anyway, so the flesh side is what we would consider as corrupt with sin, right? All man has fallen short of the glory of God. Man has been corrupted by sin because of the fall of man in the garden. So that flesh, we're killing off this flesh. That's kind of what this walk with Christ is. Christ dying for us gave us the Holy Spirit, which gives us the ability to no longer be obligated to the flesh, but to push it away and move closer and move towards and live with a life of righteousness. And so when we're talking about dying, we're talking about dying to the sinful part, the flesh side, the selfish side of you, and loving like Christ loves. And the only way you can love like Christ is by getting away from sin and from the flesh. So that's what we're talking about when we're saying laying down your life for the wife.
Yeah,
I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, it's putting her above yourself in everything, in all your needs, and making sure that she comes first. Let's talk a little bit about, okay, for guys who had a male figure in their life do it wrong, and now they have this false idea of Jesus' masculinity. Let's talk about like how to fix that. How do you go from whatever perspective this guy has that he tweeted to what we would call the correct view of Jesus? Like, how would you guys begin to heal, I guess, from that? Because it's not just like it's an idea. That's like an emotional, spiritual difference?
I'd say the best way is to look at Jesus. Like, I've heard, or our youth pastor at our church always says Jesus is perfect theology. So if you look at Jesus and act like he acted, then you'll be like the perfect man, basically. And Jesus was strong and steadfast and even sometimes critical of those who stood in the way of freedom. So the Pharisees and Sadducees, Jesus called them whitewashed tombs and a pit of vipers. So like Jesus straight up like roasted the turd out of these religious leaders that made it impossible for normal citizens who were actually illiterate at the time to come out of their sin. They knew no different than the strict law that the Pharisees put down. And then if you look at how Jesus reacted to Mary and Martha, to all the sick people that he never turned away, people that were hungry, Jesus was kind, caring, loving. He never left anybody unhealed. He laid his life down. He sacrificed his time. He sacrificed time with people that he cared about for people that were completely out of the way. Like the woman at the well, Jesus spent a lot of time sacrificed for that woman. Time he could have been doing other things, but he saw importance in individuals.
Yeah. If Jesus was here today and talked to any, like mega church leaders the way he talked to the Pharisees and correcting their hypocrisy and false teachings, man, people would stone Jesus today. They would sacrifice him again,
Mm-hmm.
But that's who he was.
Yeah, you ain't gonna see no hit pastor doing that.
Mm-mm.
They're all too scared.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I'm kind of upset right now because we're in a point right now of this quarantine. What is it? 30 million people out of work. Like, if anything, the only thing that's going to keep people sane is church.
Yeah.
And not only that, but we're able to open up hardware stores. We're able to go and protest and get pepper sprayed and be around thousands of people. But we're not allowed to be masked and social distanced in a place of worship. And I'm kind of done with it. I don't know about y'all. It's very hypocritical. And if anything, listen, you don't even have to be a Christian to know that living by the simple rules of do not kill someone, do not unless it's self-defense, but murder, innocent life. Do not, which that's a whole nother conversation, the whole murder, 10 commandment killing thing. Anyway, don't murder, don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't cheat, be a loyal person, don't covet, don't compare. That's basically, don't compare yourself, don't be envious, don't just work with what you got.
Bro, you're totally feeling my wicked vibes. There goes all my wicked plans.
Yeah. But, and then obviously honoring your father and mother, but even if you're not a Christian, you don't even have to like all of the 10 commandments. If you just follow those 5 or 6, you're going to live a better life in general. But we're over here, there's people literally dying every single day on the streets. There's people committing suicide. There's people who are overly depressed or on medications. And on top of that, they don't have work. There's no income coming in. But we're all trying to, stay shut down in the name of safety.
Dude, last night when we were talking about just breaking the gospel down to its basic core, it's love God with all your heart and love your neighbors as yourself. And I think I completely agree with you, because if people took that, even if people don't believe in God, if they took that love neighbors as yourself, love your neighbors as yourself. Oh, that's hard to say for me. That would change the world, because Now, the only way to do that is if you love God with all your heart. But if people tried to love their neighbors as themselves, then you wouldn't have these issues.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, the struggle with that is that people thinking love your neighbor as yourself, they want some socialist utopian society, and that's the only way for everybody to love each other. When
Well, and they're trying to take the responsibility from themselves to love their neighbor. They're trying to have that forced upon, like, they're just trying to have like love forced upon them rather than them loving someone else.
Well, and then also it's not love your neighbor as yourself. It's love the state, because you're not giving your money directly to your neighbor. You're giving it to the state for it to be redistributed in a socialist.
you're talking, yeah, I was gonna say you're talking about in a social society. Okay.
Right. Like just like Karl Marx, the idea, first of all, that humans are inherently sinful is something that he was completely opposed to. But like, let's think about that for a second. And this is kind of a change of subject. Let's talk about the issue of racism. In an evolution, and I don't know if we've talked about this before, but in an evolution based worldview, or in any kind of like Darwinianism, why is racism bad if it's survival of the fittest? You know, let the best race win. Let the stronger genes win, right? And so race isn't technically a bad thing, because if you would consider a bad thing, and also you're an atheist and you believe in the evolution, in the theory of evolution, which it is a theory, it is not fact. It just doesn't make sense for you to be against racism, because you would be halting the evolutionary process. And so,
That also.
Hold on. So there's that. But here's the other side of it. If you believe that one, man was created, and then they were given the opportunity to pick good or evil, and they chose evil, and as a result, they have been corrupted by that evil, and it's been something that's been passed down through generation. Now we are born in sin. It makes total sense why every single human civilization since the beginning of time has had slavery. But here's the other thing. The only nation to abolish slavery as quickly as it did within 100 years of its founding was the United States. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the United States is also the most Christian nation to ever be founded in human history. So when you look at that, in my opinion, I'm just like, this issue of race, one, wouldn't be an issue. Now, granted, I definitely think that race right now, the race issue, is being used as a puppet by the left, and I'm not afraid to say that. I genuinely think it is, just because they're not congruent whatsoever in their convictions about race. They just want it for power. So that, I mean, and obviously that's an opinion, but yeah, I had to go on that rant for a second.
You know what's stupid is this trending "all buildings matter" hashtag.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, that's literally trending right now, is "all buildings matter," and it's just, of course, a rebuttal to our "all lives matter" rebuttal to Black Lives Matter.
Right.
But and I made a TikTok about it today where I basically just said, so if this is trending, do the federal buildings that Antifa are trying to burn down, and all the gas stations and businesses that they did burn down, did those buildings matter? Or no, just the ones that you like, right? It's just stupid.
Austin, you were going to say something.
Well, I was saying, like, your whole argument about, like, if it's evolution, survival of the fittest. I mean, when you really break that down, that removes all reason for law, because if it's survival of the fittest and I can take on the government, then you should be happy, because I'm the future. And so if you don't think I should murder you, but you can't stop me, then by the rules of survival of the fittest, like, that's good. Like, I've improved the future for everyone else because I'm stronger. And if, it's society, like, that's that whole argument of like, well, why is murder wrong? Well, because society deemed it so. Well, if two people are stronger than the rest of the society, then it doesn't matter. Like, who cares? Like,
right.
And if in that case, like everything should be all right. But people know deep down, well, if you kill someone, that's wrong. Well, why is it wrong? Well, society deemed it so. Well, if it's survival of the fittest, that's not the case because they got away with it. They could do it, so why should they not? Because I don't feel like they should. Well,
right. If you're an atheist, if you're an atheist or someone who believes in evolution, then by the logic of those belief systems, by those religions, really, there is no moral code. It's a societal construct, which is why we've had this, what I believe, and this has happened in every single nation that has fallen. The moral code is broken up and scattered, and no one knows what's right. And as soon as you start doing that, societies start crumbling. And because without intelligent design, there's no reason for order. And so you can't be an atheist and want peace and war, because that is inherent. It's not going to happen. Like when I say atheist, I'm including Darwinianism within that belief, because I don't know what the heck else you would believe, really. But I just don't see how you can truly be able to say war and death and racism are bad things if you full-heartedly believe in the evolutionary process. Because somewhere along the line, the species got to evolve. So,
well, and most atheists and evolutionists would argue that our moral code was evolved, that we got that through human nature over time, and we now know that things like racism are wrong, and we evolved into that understanding. But if you can evolve into an understanding like that, then you can just as easily evolve out of it. And
exactly.
So you still have no fundamental basis for claiming that it's like, you can't just make up morality and then use that as your reasoning for morality.
Right, because morality is subject. So because morality would be subjective to the evolutionary state.
Yeah. Exactly. So if the three of you think it's wrong for me to murder y'all, but I can, and there's no reason other than we evolved to decide that murder is wrong. Well, if I can kill all three of you, then it doesn't matter why. What's the consequence?
Right. Well, now murder would be right.
Murder is right because I can do it.
Yeah.
So, but if there's an actual reason, like the creator of the universe said, "Hey, don't do that," then if I kill all three of you, I still didn't get away with anything. Yeah. I'm still in the wrong.
Yeah.
But if it's just we evolved to have this idea that we can do what we want, and murder is something that we can't do, well, screw that. I'm going to do what I want, and I'll change the rules.
Yeah, and when you let your definition of morality and morality itself evolve, then you end up saying that it's okay to murder babies, and that's how we end up with millions of babies dead. And then when you let that concept evolve, you start to say it's okay to murder babies all the way up to birth, and even after birth in some cases.
Right.
If the
the ones that you don't kill, then pedophilia is okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
California, that's getting.
Have you guys seen this movie on Netflix, Cuties?
No, I didn't watch it.
I'm not.
Well, yeah, I don't watch it, but have you seen
You watched it, Reagan? Dude,
Nope.
That's really messed up.
Whatever.
I thought we kind of made a pact not to watch it.
No, but I mean, this movie is rated mature on Netflix, so kids aren't going to be watching it. So who's left to be watching this movie?
Right.
Just adults. And then what adult in their right mind is going to watch this movie? None. So who's going to be watching it? Freaking pedophiles. Literally. That's all who's going to be watching this movie.
Yeah, like, that is ridiculous to me.
That boils my blood.
Oh, what if Netflix is just a really big sting operation, and they're just getting the logs for everybody that watches it?
Bro, I'd be really impressed with that.
Yeah. Man, maybe I should hold on to that hope, because if I'm being honest, I don't want to cancel Netflix.
Dude, my family canceled Netflix like months ago.
Yeah.
After they came out with that gay Jesus movie. I
forgot about that.
It was
honestly. As soon as I'm done watching Person of Interest, I'm probably off. So sorry, Colton, but we're probably off Netflix.
No, it's okay. I appreciate you canceling your membership. I remember.
That we kind of got off topic, but I feel like that was an important thing to address, and just something I wanted to get off my chest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bro talk. This is like what we've been trying to get to, is just real conversations. So
I just hope that the world is not like this when my kids are growing up. I hope that we can fix some of
Get
these.
rid of all the pedophiles.
We gotta have babies.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a real question right here. So, God loves all people, and there are people, I just imagine, there have to be, because there are people that are gay that don't want to be gay. So I'm sure that out there are people who have this sexual attraction to children that don't want it. What do you how do you think that the church should go about handling that?
I think everything needs to be done in love, and there's always different definitions of how that's done. I don't personally believe that people are born like that. I think people maybe neurologically have convinced themselves to the point that they are, and have enabled themselves from combating it in any way because they've gotten themselves so deep into it. But I don't think people are born like that. I think everybody is born with the natural tendencies of sexual attraction towards the opposite sex.
Yeah. Okay, so like that's the same argument of, are people born gay? So I'm not saying these people were born with pedophilic tendencies. I'm saying their experiences in life, maybe their parents were very toxic situation. They were like sexually abused as a child, and so they had that same desire to do that to somebody else. Because, human beings, there's no limit to the disgusting, horrible things that we are attracted to. And so, like, this person may have absolutely no desire to have these desires, but they are there nonetheless.
Right. Because of brain neurological, wounds and.
Exactly. I was just going to say, from what we know about Conquer and how the brain works and how it's neuroplastic and can change, and the reactions in it, and the pathways that it builds in itself, I would not. I mean, like you're saying, there's no limit to how far somebody can go with that, and it's almost like you become a programmed copy of yourself that you tell there's no way to get free from this, and so you literally block off any belief.
Man, everybody's.
I know, right? Phone's blowing
Mine
up.
hasn't. Thank you. Do not
but
disturb.
For people who think that, Colton, in my honest opinion, and again, all this has to be done out of love, but I really believe that some trauma in their life, and it's a coping mechanism to cope with that trauma, and they have programmed their mind so far into that to believe, not just think, but believe in their heart that is how they are born, and they can't get free from that. But then on the other hand of that, I absolutely believe that the brain is pliable and plastic. It can change, and you can overcome anything, and with time and effort and putting in the right work and good things in your mind, you can flip that switch. It's like what we learned in Conquer about, oh gosh, what's it called? The thing where you pass genes onto your kids with certain
epigenetic modification.
Yeah, epigenetic modification. So those
You remember that?
Yeah, those genes or genetic codes are like instructions that you pass on to your kids neurologically. You can either turn certain tendencies on or off in their gene expression, and you can do that for yourself. So if you believe that you are born gay, something had to happen to you to get you to that point neurologically. And I believe neurologically you can reverse that and get back to the point that God created you naturally. And that's just my personal opinion. And I know
how does that person that's in the church that's struggling with that, say this person is going to church, they believe God can heal them, they believe that they can get back, but like even homosexuality still is such a taboo in the church. Like people still are not handling it correctly in the church. They're not loving people through that. They're just saying like God hates fags and stuff, and that's not okay. So like on my Facebook profile, like it may just be the people that I know, but it's just nothing but like, if you're a pedophile, let me know so I can come kill you, basically.
Right.
And people just saying, like, I say we just round up all the pedophiles and kill them. And I mean, while I agree that's best for our children, I also believe that I don't know if that's what God would want, you know? Like, would he want us to help those people recover from that?
Yeah, there's definitely a societal justified form for or process for a government to go about handling something like that. You know, that's why we have the judicial system, and so there's that side of it where like
Yeah, I'm not talking about the judicial system. I'm talking about church.
You're talking about the church.
the church.
So yeah,
Dude,
so this guy, so Joe Blow off the street, or that has been going to this church for a long time, feels these inner desires that he has not acted upon,
Mhm.
but he doesn't want them anymore. He can't talk to anybody about that,
Mhm.
because pedophilia is so taboo, and it's like you will immediately be ostracized from any church because this guy isn't safe around our kids. This guy is nasty and gross. How does the church handle that?
Yeah.
Because a
You
past
have
therapist
to have
that
you
have
have
been
to have people come up in the church that are willing to have those conversations. That's what's got to change.
Yeah, there is no safe place.
Yeah.
There's no, and that is to the fault of the church, because that's so complicated. Because here's the thing, I would consider that person mentally unstable, and I would say that person needs to go to a rehab center for that specific thing. I would say that's the same thing for transgenderism and homosexuality. I'm not saying, hey, go to an insane asylum, because there's people who are perfectly cognizant and they're not insane. But I believe that naturally you are born with testosterone in your brain. Unless you have a mental disorder, you are born as a male with testosterone and male hormones. Same with female hormones. Meaning that you are attracted to the pheromones and hormones of the opposite. And so naturally, right? And this is the natural physical side of the brain that we're talking about. Because the other thing is, we were also talking about flesh. So like, obviously all men are born in sin. So is it therefore possible to be born and be gay, to be born and as a, but I personally just don't see how that is like, that doesn't match the hormone and the genetic structure in your brain. That's a whole nother thing. But there needs to be a place where their healing can take place, at least that option. Because right now, the only option is go on with it or don't tell anybody and just let it eat you up inside. Or, like I said earlier, go on with it. And when I say that, I mean act out in that. And that's when people get put to death and thrown in prison.
But to answer your question, Colton, what the church should do about that, the church should do what they've been doing with pornography, where more people are talking about it and more people are being open about it. Now, the risk with that is that the more exposure you give it and the more, the more open you are about it, the more people start to be interested in it and looking into it and maybe even start to dabble in it in themselves. Like, that has been a consequence, unfortunately, of talking more about pornography in the church, is that more people, like, the more exposure it gets, the more people are exposed to it in and of itself. But
I think people would be exposed to it nonetheless.
True. Maybe eventually. I don't know so much right now.
I don't think discussing something in a Christian environment as like pornography is a negative, like me telling you like pornography is a negative, and I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I would say look at the heroin, the cocaine, look at the meths, look at all the drugs. I know for a fact the reason I didn't do any of that was because I saw pictures of people who did meth, and they were all mugshots, and they were missing teeth, and their cheeks were sunken in. Same thing with cocaine and heroin, and people ruin their lives. Right now, pornography, for not even half, about 20% of the people talking about pornography are talking negatively about it, and they're saying it's bad. But you have the entire world, at least the entire world and the church can agree that hard drugs is going to ruin your life. And even now that's being clouded. But pornography, maybe even half of the church, obviously I'm just making up stuff. But even half the church is going to say, well, masturbation and pornography isn't necessarily a sin, And so until there can be common ground that this will ruin your life. And here's the deal. We're in the biggest communication entertainment type shift in the last 500 years with video. And so it's going to be a lot like cigarettes, where everyone's going to do it. And then all of a sudden it's going to be a cultural and societal collapse. And it's all going to be brought back to pornography. That is when, unfortunately, there's going to be any kind of reformation in what we're seeing. Because that's just how humanity.
It's going to be like our kids that see everything collapse and like
right, because
everything fall apart, and they're like, right, oh my gosh, that's what that leads to.
Right.
Because like our generation, like we hear like some of the guys in our church talk about like when they were our age, it was impossible to find it. Like it was so difficult.
Right.
Yeah, and our age, boom.
Yeah, and I mean, in our generation is really the first generation to let's see, the iPhone came out when I was like in elementary school. So the Gen Z generation is the first generation that will actually experience a mass generational collapse and crash of the pornography version of the lung cancer that we see in the people who were smoking cigarettes. And this is how it's been for human history all throughout time. In order for there to be any revival or reformation or any return to moral standards in humanity, humanity has to suffer the consequences of not having said moral standards. That's how it was with Israel in the desert. That's how it's been for mankind. They've had to learn their lesson the hard way collectively for there to be any mass shift of revival or reformation. And so that being said, I get what you're saying with the you don't want to give it the mass. You don't want to bring pornography more awareness and stuff, but someone's got to start saying now this stuff isn't good, and that way, 30 years down the line, the same people are saying, "I told you so."
Well, yeah. If we take that same idea to like from pornography, like if 15 years ago people like us, but then we're screaming pornography is bad, it'll ruin your life, and people had an awakening before then, we would be in a completely different culture right now, and it wouldn't have progressed this far, right? So if we start doing that now with pedophilia, like none of us ever thought in our lifetime we would see the United States of America anywhere, any kind of pedophilia being legalized. But in California, there was a bill passed recently that made it legal for from the age of 14, you can have a 14-year-old man could have, or boy could have sex with a 23-year-old man legally now in California. Because of that, there's a 10-year thing. It's complicated, but basically you have 10 years where you could do it with a minor. And so if we start, but there's so many people saying like, be a pedophile and I'll kill you. So I'm just trying to think of like, how does the church handle this situation? Because all four of us know for a fact that the church has not handled the epidemic of pornography in America well at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, and let me clarify what I was saying earlier real quick. I wasn't saying that how we've exposed pornography in the church is a bad thing. It's absolutely a good thing. And the more that we've talked about it, there has been a lot of freedom and people getting free from it. But I was saying that along with that, we just needed to be prepared that the more exposure it got, the more people are going to be exposed to actual pornography.
The other,
So we just need to tread lightly, I think, and learn from how we've done it wrong with pornography and do it right this time with pedophilia. In terms of like, yes, the church needs to talk on it, but we need to be careful how we physically involve people who are struggling with this in the church body, things like that. Just being smart how we go about it. Like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about it. Absolutely, we need to talk about it. Just doing it the right way. And I'm not really
the other side
yet, but just trying to figure that out.
The other side of that is, I think it's different because pornography definitely, one of the reasons the church did not handle pornography like epidemic at all was most people didn't know about it. It was a technological shift. And so, I mean, most people, I don't know, maybe not most. A lot of people over the age of 40 don't know how to turn their phone on half the time. And then you've got 3-year-olds who can look up YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Right.
So the difference in the ability to use technology led to a 15-year head start on the church not even knowing that there was a porn epidemic.
I don't know, I
Because
disagree with that. Because remember in Conqueror series where they were talking about like how 70+% of men in the church struggle with pornography.
yes, but the other
Yeah,
thing is you
struggled
didn't
with
know
it.
that 70%.
Yeah,
You thought you were the only one.
Nobody was talking about it.
Yeah.
Because
The
nobody was
church
talking
didn't
about it. That's the issue. So when it comes to pedophilia, my thought is no one's talking about it except for in the sense of if you are a pedophile, I will murder you.
Yes, but the other side, the thing is no one was talking about pornography because they thought that they were the only ones. So every single like 70% of the church was sitting there thinking I'm the only one because that's how pornography worked. They couldn't see it anyway. Pedophilia is significantly harder to hide. Like, you can't be married to a kid or be living with a kid and people not know, but you can go 40 years of your life watching porn and no one can find out.
I don't know. I'd say pedophilia is easy to hide because there are people now getting charged with like elementary teachers getting charged with violating like 200 plus 5-year-olds and then finally getting figured out.
Yeah, but usually those
For
time frames
years.
are over the course of like a year.
Well, like 10 years. So it's easy. You can hide it for like 10 years.
So are you saying it's
The secret sin's easy to hide.
Yeah. And I just want y'all to know I'm not advocating for pedophiles. I'm not like,
absolutely
yeah,
I'll do, but like,
that's
no,
pedophiles.
it's
I'm
legit.
saying how does the church handle this? Because we have handled so many things wrong in the past that have led us to this point. We have been so inactive in the sexual culture because in church, sex is bad. We don't talk about it.
Right.
And unless you're married and then you go to a marriage conference and that's when you talk about sex. But we have these people growing up for 30 years not knowing what to do with their sexuality and being driven mad by these hormones to do sin. And the church hasn't talked about it. And we're finally getting an awakening to, hey, there's a porn issue. And there's still a lot of churches that don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So if the church is 10 years behind the culture of what is going on, we need to get ahead because we're just saying kill all the pedophiles right now. And it's like, what if we're handling this wrong? Like we handled porn wrong, like we handled homosexuality wrong, like we handled divorce wrong.
Yeah.
Like the church has handled a lot of stuff wrong. So I'm just wondering how do we get this right?
Yeah, well, just saying kill all the pedophiles, that's definitely not the right response. So you're right that's not godly or biblical in any way. Now, I do believe in pretty harsh consequences for extreme, humanitarian crimes such as rape. I think rapists should be castrated, to be honest with you. But
absolutely, yeah, castrated and killed or killed.
So, saying kill all the pedophiles is not the right response because we know that there is redemption and healing from things like that. But I don't think that they should. I don't think that either convicted pedophiles or even people that come out as struggling with it, I think there should be caution there, and they should be either set apart from normal society, maybe like Noah.
I'm sure there's somewhere in scripture. I'm positive of it.
But there's also a difference between somebody who is just discovering small urges, and maybe they're just confused with this crazy times right now, and someone who has either acted on it, or who is deep in it or been dealing with it for years. Like, I don't want to just say, if you're just starting to think maybe you have these urges, then, oh gosh, throw them in a rehab center, just like push them away from society, as opposed to somebody who has been dealing with it for years. Like, there's a difference there. But in terms of how the church should handle it, I don't know for sure. Definitely not killing them because they're humans and every life is valuable. If
honestly, man, I have no idea how their church should handle any of this. I just think it's good to propose these questions because the church has been so behind in the culture race, and we aren't leading culture. We're kind of following and trying to pick up the pieces frantically.
Absolutely.
Right.
Culture is leaving in its wake, and this sexual movement that started in the 70s, the sexual awakening, and it's crazy that the church has been so behind in all of this. And I think it's like we need to frantically be trying to catch up and get ahead of culture, and so we can start steering the ship instead of just being dragged on in the wake.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
Well, I was going to say, practically speaking, that would be through schooling, right? The church and the family, biblically, are designed to come together and teach and train up the child in the way they should go. And we've taken the Bible out of schools. Morality is gone. People are thinking pedophilia is a sexual preference. That is a legitimate thought now. It's not wrong in the eyes of the world. The church needs to be the Bible, not really the church, but because let's be honest, the church is made up of fallen human beings. So there's really no way that we can have preventative measures that work long term. But what does work long term is having a set of rules in place, in a moral code in place that acts as the preventative floodgates of sin. And so when you take that out, it's like, now the world's just going to go rampant and sin's going to go run through the village, and we have to chase after it because the floodgates opened up when it was the moral code of biblical Judeo-Christian values that was keeping that from happening before. And so now it's like, for example, I've heard people say homeschooling needs to be the new thing. It has to increase. We can't trust our public schools whatsoever. And that option is completely out the window. And I would say that something needs to happen morally more quickly than trying to take over colleges, universities, and public schools. Because by the time we actually find success in that, I personally I think it's going to be too late in a lot of ways. One way that I think private schools and homeschool co-ops is how you get the information there that we need. And the good thing about homeschooling is that it's free.
Well, I personally don't think sex ed should be a thing at all in any form or fashion. I think all education in a public sense should be math, science, reading and writing, and industrial training maybe at that best. But I think all those other things, and history, I think the family, though, like you're saying, Noah, should be the one that only teaches you about sex and those kind of things growing up.
Right. Or, it just taught from the Bible. And at this point, our only options for teaching the Bible is in the home, which it should be anyway, and in the church, which it should be anyway.
I also think everybody should be homeschooled, but that's a far shot. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well,
homeschoolers unite, bro.
Well, no, eventually, I think that would be a good thing. But
I mean, it would be great. I mean, I think that's how.
Right. Well, see, the thing is, Christian school right now is working out. But how long until private schools are regulated by the government? Right. If private schools and churches are being told to shut down, how much
it
power do you
depends.
really
It depends. If they do shut down, then it won't be very long. If they don't, if they say no, then
right.
It might be another 50 years.
Yeah, but the knees already been bent.
No again. Yeah.
But Noah, even how depraved and sinful a Christian school can be.
Oh, for sure.
Scenes, and I can't forget I can't remember which founding father said this. Might have been John Adams. One of them said that he views cities as pestilential, and basically compared them to like maggots on the body of a human, because he basically said the reason he hates cities is because the more humans that you pack into one place, since we're all deprived, the more depravity you get. He's the one that said God made the country, man made the cities, and made that thing famous.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with school. The more kids that you pack into a school, the worse education they're going to get, the more depraved the kids are going to become.
That makes a lot of sense. That's probably why New York and California are on fire right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get out of them as fast as possible.
Yeah, but like, think about it. If you're in your home and you can get the entire devoted attention of either your mom or your dad, whoever's teaching you, that's the best way to get education. It's like having a private tutor, like, for your whole education.
Yeah.
That's really where it comes down to the whole like idea that people don't rise to the greatest leader. They fall to the depth of the lowest person in the group. So if you have a team of 5 people in it, and one guy is this phenomenal, amazing leader like Noah, and another person is this Joe Blow. I was really considering saying Austin, but then I decided not to. This random Joe Blow off the street that's a total like chachwad, and he always is talking bad about everybody on the team, and he's saying, "Oh, I don't see why we have to do drills. This is stupid." Then all the other people that are not Noah are going to fall to his level instead of rise to Noah's.
Yeah.
So whenever you have a city full of millions,
also,
the level of morality is going to drop down to the lowest point, not rise to the highest.
Yeah.
Also, the difference goes back to that numbers that you were talking about, like the bigger the school. If it's that group of 5, that means there's 4 people that Noah's influencing. And so if his time is split between 4 people, he might be able to convince 3 of them to straighten up and like be better people. And that one Chach boy might just like end up leaving. You might end up with a group of 4 that's good. But if you got one Noah and 300 kids, then Noah might leave with 3 again. But the level of success is a lot less.
Yeah,
so
that's why I really can't wait for Jordan Peterson to come back.
Yeah.
I feel like he was really leading a cultural revolution of young men.
Yeah.
And he's been out for nearly a year and a half now, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know when he will come back. But if he does, we will have him on the podcast one day.
One day, bro.
One day.
One day. I will have a conversation with Jordan B. Peterson that is not just, hey, I read your book. Thank you for being awesome. Can you sign this? It's going to be like me asking him in-depth questions and
Colton,
enormous, amazing Canadian brain.
Yeah. Another thing about like the school and why we have that is because they just, at least in my opinion, because I didn't go to public school doesn't encourage greatness anymore and like striving to be your best or great.
Unless you're an athlete.
Academically, like you said, we just follow the lowest common denominator. And that's what you get when you pack a bunch of kids in a building and expect all of them to be, par and okay, instead of giving kids individual focus through homeschooling. You can tap their most potential and get them to the best that they can be.
Yeah, man. I just finished my first week teaching at a Christian school, 7th and 8th graders, and I can honestly say that it is really tough to teach 16, 7th, and 8th graders anything within any kind of time period. It is a challenge. So I can't imagine what public school teachers, they have absolutely no time to focus on one-on-one and make sure that the individual gets any kind of comprehension. Because I think I spent 20 minutes in science class today going around individually and helping students that like were so confused on something and like trying to like describe this in a way that makes sense. and each of them had their own individual questions that I would not have answered correctly if it would have been 100 of them. You know?
Yeah.
So,
Respect.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. See, my
It's really
solution
fun,
to my
but it's
solution to
really
problems
tough.
like that usually is just like, no, figure it out. That's why you have Google. So I'm proud of you, Colton.
So
I mean, it's really fun and exciting, but at the same time, it's really tough. So, like, I'm just trying to say, like, I only had 16. I can't imagine what a teacher with 80 students per class feels like. And so that's where I think that the homeschooling thing is a great idea, because you have one parent or both parents teaching this student, one student. You have a 2-to-1 teacher to student ratio instead of a 1-to-80
Mhm.
teacher to student ratio. And so each kid would get so much better of an education. Like Austin and Reagan, y'all two are like really smart. Like out of all the people that I graduated with, I'd say that y'all are smarter than almost like probably 8 out of 10 of them, 9 out of 10 of them. I
Well,
graduated with a guy who got like a 35 on his ACT, so I can't say y'all are.
Well, and here's a big difference too, is like with homeschooling, you learn how to become a self-teacher. You learn how to teach yourself and learn.
Either that or you learn where your mom hid the answer books.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I
Either way,
did that a
a
lot.
critical thinker. You become a critical thinker either way.
Exactly. But like here's why that's important. And this is why, things like college, for the right reasons, not just to go to college, but like a lot of colleges and degrees are still great, and it's good to go do those kind of things, because by that time you've learned how to get the most out of a class, hopefully by that age, and to pay attention. And professors at college don't have to worry as much about one-on-one stuff. They can speak to a class of 200 because that's all older, mature people, and they've gotten used to that. But if you grow up homeschooling and you learn how to be self-taught, and you learn how, like you're saying, be a critical thinker, then you can go off to places like college and higher education formats and get more out of that, instead of growing up in the school system learning the wrong way or a faulty way of learning because you don't get that one-on-one attention. Like I put myself in a class, and you get the teacher saying, like, has everybody got that? Everybody understands that? And there maybe 99% of the class says yes, but there's the one kid in the back who doesn't. Like, if he does that all throughout his education up through high school, how's he going to do in college? He's going to suck, because he never learned how to, get answers for his questions, or how to learn himself, be a critical thinker. So that's just why it's so important that you get that one-on-one education with somebody.
And even learning how to educate yourself after you're like through high school and after high school. Like,
Yeah.
I'd say after high school, I've probably learned more about life and the way that everything in the world operates
Yeah.
in society than I did all through high school.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I've
Well-
read so many books about like personal development and growth, and like I'd say I know significantly more than I did in high school. And I've learned in the last 4 years significantly more than I did all through high school.
Right. Well, yeah, schools used to teach just basic life skills that you would use after high school, but we don't do that anymore. Schools used to teach you how to balance a checkbook in like middle school and high school, and finances, and how to work with the bank, but nobody does that anymore.
Hey, my school though, at the end of everything, we spent 2 years learning how to do like calculus and crap that I literally have never used. But we spent 2 days where we learned how to separate clothes in a washing machine. But that was really helpful.
You needed 2 days to learn that?
I did, dude. I came to Leaders Academy and I was like, "Yo, where is the on button on this washing machine?" I had to FaceTime my mom. It was awful.
I had to help Austin figure out how to use a dryer.
Okay,
Yeah.
in my defense though, one of the reasons I went to Leaders Academy is I grew up in Africa. My class was 40 kids graduating, and the culture shock for if I would have gone to college, bro. Who knows? Well, I would have been like one of the Florida Man like news articles, because like I walked into Walmart and I was like, I don't know what to do here. Like I don't know how to buy something here. Like this is so strange. And like,
Austin, some of the stories that you told me about what you did in Africa, you could have already been a Florida Man news article.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
So
Uh-huh.
much of that learning though is experiential and just doing it, like,
for real.
and that's why it's easier. That's why it's easier for parents to do that, because if you have parents who, if you know, fortunately they have had the time to do those things with you, then that's the best way to go about it. You know what?
That was soft, man. Gosh. Don't people know I have a life? What is that? Yo, you have a sword?
I have a katana.
Nice.
It's a sword.
I feel like this part of the show really needs to be edited out.
No,
We should let's come up with a new segment right now.
Austin, you need to be edited out.
a new segment called "What's Around Ya," where we all grab the coolest thing that's within walking distance of us,
Okay.
show it off.
How much you want to bet? It's going to be a gun. How much you want to bet?
It's a gun. Oh, it's a sword. It's a Braveheart sword. That's cool.
So
What do you got?
my dad got me this sword when I turned 13, and it was my you know, what do you call it? Amenity,
Austin, go get your sword.
signifying my transition from boyhood to manhood.
I don't know where I put it.
It's in your bath, your half bath.
Which, by the way,
Oh yeah.
you should become a man when you turn 13. I know being a man has nothing to do with age, but you should be a man by the time you turn 13.
Noah, where's your sword?
It's not in here.
Noah, you don't have a sword?
I keep my sword concealed because as soon as y'all look at it, you'll be scared.
Look how shiny it is.
Hey, I think Noah probably has the biggest sword of all of us, but size doesn't matter.
That's awful. It's not awful. I mean, never mind. No. I don't know what I'm saying.
Here it is. Got it.
Austin found his sword. He's a man again.
Freaking go.
This is gonna be funny. Cause it's a Roman short sword.
That's very telling to
That's a
young.
gladius, right? Is that what they were called?
I don't know. I just call it my sword.
Those were actually great swords.
Yeah, because as soon as you got
What
up
are the
close, the
katanas?
big swords couldn't. Yo, I saw a video of this old samurai warrior cutting up a mat. It was really cool.
Do you guys think there's
Try
any
it.
real chance that Biden will get elected? Like, even in the realm of possibility?
I don't know. That's why I wanted to talk about pedophiles.
I think there is.
Really? I mean,
think
I know.
I think we're gonna be shocked at how much closer it actually is going to be.
I don't think it's going to be close, but I think they're legit going to cheat as much as they can.
So
And if
what I'm praying for is a landslide victory on Donald Trump's part. Like, it's not even close. Like, we have blue states turn red just because of the sad excuse of a candidate that the Democrats are trying to put forward.
yeah. But again, the problem is they're just going to do as much cheating as they possibly can. So any kind of mail-in ballots that they somehow force on people, they're just
Did
going
you
to.
see the 4D chess move that Donald Trump recently played to get like them to stop doing mail-in voting?
Oh yeah, when he made the comment about people voting twice and stuff.
He's like, everybody needs to vote twice, like once in person and once over the mail-in voting. And then all the Democrats were like, no, we can't do mail-in voting anymore because Donald Trump's going to try and cheat to get himself reelected. He's on another. Okay, either he has incredible gut instincts, he gets stupid lucky, or he plays 4D chess, and none of us are on his level intellectually.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can't get as stupid lucky as he has gotten for 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
And gotten millions and millions and billions of dollars throughout your
Listen,
lifetime.
really though, honestly, all I want him to do is right before election, just to be like, hey guys, I identify as a woman now, so he's the first female president. And
Oh,
just
he
like
has said
really,
that.
he has said that.
he tweeted that I now identify as a woman. I'm the first female president. Sorry, Hillary. That was I think that was after he got elected, so a few years ago. But he tweeted that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, we
He
need to
wasn't-
go back
he
and
wasn't
find that
speak-
tweet.
Yeah,
We
he
need to
was
go back and find that tweet and make a big deal out of it, though, because like
I mean,
we basically need to take everything that Democrats have ever said and just throw it back at them and make it fun.
there's this video of like 3 cops arresting this lady, and one of them starts like patting her down for weapons and stuff, and this social justice feminist lady behind him are like, do you have a female officer present? You can't be doing that. Like, you have to have a female officer present in order to search her. And the cop doing it is like, how do you know I don't identify as a woman?
So me and Colton are watching this show called Bodyguard. I mean, I've seen it like 4 times, but like in it, he's like trying to get the people to move inside. He's like head of security, and they're having like 2 politicians are having an argument, and one of them says, Miss Montague, can't you call your monkey off? And he looks at the guy and says, sir, I'm mixed race. And then like they just like walk inside, and he's like sitting outside. The politician like pulls his phone. He's like, I need to record my end of a conversation now. And, like as they walk inside, the lady looks at the bodyguard and goes, are you really? He goes, no.
Dang.
I love it.
It's like use their weapons against them.
Yeah.
Like you can't beat stupid with stupid, but like if stupid people can't laugh at themselves, I'll laugh at them for them.
Yeah.
That really is the issue. No one in our society knows how to laugh at themselves anymore. The people
I
on
do.
the left take themselves way too seriously. Like,
I have mad respect for people of minorities who make jokes about minorities and laugh at jokes about minorities.
yes.
It's
But the
it's
sad
great.
thing is only people of minority groups can make those jokes anymore.
True.
Who's
Here's
that-
my thing.
Well, some
that-
Here's my thing. One of my lines that I'm probably gonna just put on all my social media is you're under the notion that your opinion actually matters to anyone. And I found myself saying that more and more because I see stuff and people will say stuff and I'll be like, see, that's really cool, but literally there's not anyone that cares at all. And people think that their opinions matter way more than they actually do.
Yeah.
There's
It's really
this
funny.
guy comedian now. His name's Ryan something. I can't remember what it is, but he does all these like social justice comedy, and it's actually hysterical. He's so funny. He makes fun of social justice warriors, and I've honestly never seen anything as spectacular.
Yeah. Is he white?
Like, he does a sketch about what happens to like Vox writers whenever Biden wins the election, or if Biden wins the election, and they're all frantically trying to figure out something to write about, and they all come back to Donald Trump. They're like, what if we just check his Twitter? It's like, no, we can't do it. Like, he's not in the spotlight anymore. And they're like, but what if we just check his Twitter? Like, there's nothing interesting going on in society because Joe Biden's so milquetoast. Like, what do we do?
That is a thought. Like, is there actually not as much crap going on in the world as the media makes it out to be? Like, is everybody free?
Oh, definitely not. So my thing is, I was talking to the guys about this the other day. If I didn't have TV or cell phone, the only thing that I would know right now is that I'm supposed to be wearing a mask. That's the only thing in my life that would be different about this whole BLM riots, Antifa, the election, like all the protests, the riots, coronavirus. Like, the only thing that's different is like stores are closed, and Walmart, you have to wear a mask inside. And I don't even wear a mask inside. Yeah, the lady at the door stopped me today, and I just kind of walked past her like I didn't hear her. I like waved
No.
at her.
This last week, I was sitting there. I was waiting on Josh to get into Walmart because we were buying stuff for junior high and youth group. And she's yelling at this like dude that's literally twice her height. And he looks at her and goes, "Ma'am, I will walk over you." Well, so he like literally just bumps into her, and she like moves out of the way. And he walks off, and she grabs her little walkie-talkie and goes, "There's somebody walking through the produce department without a mask on." and one of the dudes from like that pushes the cards back in walks in and goes, "Lady, you're the only person here that cares. Stop messing up the radio. I'm tired of hearing your voice." And dude, I almost started crying. I was laughing so hard. I was like, "Thank you." And that dude wasn't even wearing a mask. He works at Walmart, and he's like, "Lady, literally no one here cares. Stop." And I was like, "Thank God."
So my dad got kicked off a Southwest flight the other day.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Saw that Facebook post.
Because he wouldn't wear a mask.
He did. He wore his mask.
It was a Trump mask, and he had it dangling from his ear.
It was a Trump mask. Well, so before he even got on the flight, he was standing in line, like away from people to get ready to board, and didn't have his mask on. And so this lady came over, told him, "Gotta wear your mask," and they had a little conversation. So he ended up putting his mask on, just didn't want to cause trouble, but was asking her, like, I'm not even like around people. I'm not even on the plane. By what authority are you telling me to do this right now? And she was like, "Oh, well, the governor's state orders." And so he's like, "Oh, okay, well, all right, fine." So gets on the plane, gets on a call with Avis because he has to cancel his reservation because they delayed his flight and didn't tell him or whatever. So he's on the phone with this guy, and the guy's like, "Sir, I can't understand you or what you're saying. You can't understand my dad." So my dad takes one side off, tells the guy the thing. Stewardess comes over, says, you have to put your mask on. Put your mask on now. Blah, blah, blah. Says, "Okay, fine." Puts it on, keeps talking to this guy. And then like a minute later, the lady who was up front, who had the conversation with him, came down and just all of a sudden was like, "Mr. Green, get your things right now, and I'll meet you at the top of the whatever." And he's like, "What? Why?" She's like, "Just get your things and I'll tell you up top." Ends up getting kicked off. But the sad part is, and this is just how stupid airlines are nowadays. When she said that, my dad was like, "No, I'm not getting off this flight. I have my mask on. I'm complying with you guys. I have to make my event tonight." And she gets on the intercom and she says, "Everybody grab your gear. We're deplaning the whole plane because like this one guy will not get off the flight." And she made a whole scene to the entire plane because my dad refused to get off. Then my dad stands up and he's like, no, everybody sit down. They want me to get off. Y'all don't worry about it." And there were guys next to my dad that they were telling him like, "Dude, this is stupid. I can't believe they're doing this. Like, this has gone way too far." And everybody was kind of like on my dad's side with this. So he, he's a good Christian and he complies and he was nice about it and all. And well, I say nice about it. I don't know. Is my dad, but so anyway, gets off the plane and they have a whole nother like alteration up there. It's a longer story, but anyway, like it just goes to show you that they don't care if you actually do comply at this point. It's just that if you give them any reason whatsoever, and it was just for the fact that he took it off for a second to say something on the phone because the guy couldn't understand him because he's wearing a freaking mask, and then they jump at that opportunity and completely abuse their power.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
See, if I would have been on that plane and I saw that happen to somebody, I would be like, "Hey, everybody, let's all just get off the plane and protest this flight until they let him back on."
Or let's have a peaceful protest.
I was going to say, stay on the plane. That way they don't just like leave you.
Yeah, let's have a peaceful protest and I'll stay on the plane.
Yeah, let's start breaking stuff and burn this building down.
Hey, let's set this plane on fire and it'll be have y'all seen the thing about how peaceful the articles will say peaceful protest escalates?
Yeah. Or like mostly peaceful protest turns fiery.
No, it says peaceful protest escalates and becomes violent. It just says peaceful protest escalates. And by escalate, like if a peaceful protest escalated, it would just become more peaceful, right? Like through grammatical logic. But they're saying that it escalated from peaceful into non-peaceful.
It's ridiculous.
Do you see the thing that said cop shot by unarmed person? It was like, wait, what?
That makes sense. He shot him through the gun. I'm unarmed. It wasn't me.
Yeah. Let's do our closing. Thank you guys for watching.